Good evening, everyone, and a happy Sunday, and welcome. This is the final Sunday before college football rocking, right? Uh,
It is. There are no
yeah,
more Thursdays without, no more Saturdays without college football and only
that's
one more
true.
Thursday.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us here on the College Football Mafia Network on another thrilling, exciting, fascinating, gut wrenching episode of Mowing After Dark. We're going to talk about the 28 team, the 32 team, the 48 team, the 128 team, college football playoffs that are currently being incubated. Somebody gave me that word this weekend that they're incubating it. We're also going to talk a little bit about ESPN and the Football Power Index and how that thing seems to just change based off of uh, no numerical data or reference or anything. But
ESPN farts in the room and everybody else gets the smell.
yep. ACC, they didn't do too well with that latest shift. So, and surprisingly, the SEC did fantastic.
I'm
We'll get
stunned.
into
I'm
that.
stunned.
We'll get into that. Say hello to some people here tonight. Good morning, y'all. Be back later. So Laura Weiss was first. She came all the way in the morning. Stormy Cyclone says hello. Nice visual, Moen. Yep. It's Tony Petitti holding up to 28. Sankey holding up to 32. Ryan Willie was third. MBM, ridiculous. Way too many games. It's supposed to be a playoff, not a postseason. I tend to agree with MBM, but we'll talk it out. Talk it out. Conundrum says 32 teams. The whole world has lost its mind. Yeah, and it's Greg Sankey's position, so 16 of those teams will be from the SEC.
They're actually going to just expand to 20 just to be able to say they got 20 into the playoffs. So congratulations, North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and fill in the blank. You're all making the playoff forever.
Absolutely. Capo, SEC and Big grow to 24 team rosters each. 12 swells to 20. ACC is relegated to PAC status. The P3 then expands CFP to 24, thus still allowing access to the G7. Okay. We'll break it all down for you. Look at this. Ryan Willie has gifted 5 memberships to the College Football Mafia family. He's going to hear some on Wisconsin. Otto Raider, Edward Wilson, Associate Minister and Reserve Deacon Mr. Terry Jones, Marky Crenshaw, Caden the Diesel Freak. You've all been gifted memberships to the College Football Mafia by our friend, the evil badger, Ryan Willie, up in the wild, wild Wisconsin weather. Here you go, Ryan. I gotta say, I do like that fight song. I did pitch it up tempo a little bit, but I like it.
The only thing I like about Wisconsin is Ryan.
Oh, well, kind of jumped around here. The Big Lubbock first, as always. Even if he or she, I don't know what Big Lubbock is. Even if they come into the chat an hour later, they're always first.
They've made sure they've bought their way into first for sure.
Go. 24 to 28 team tournament. That loads up on just schools from a few conferences. Is not a definition of being fair. Who is the idiot TV executive who shared this idea with Tony Petitti? Probably the same guy who shared with Greg Sankey a 32 team one. I have seen Tony Petitti catch a lot of shit this weekend on the old interwebs, but people seem to have missed that Athletic article that basically said Greg Sankey was incubating a 32 team model.
That sounds like something he does while reading something else while sitting somewhere else.
Everyone, please hit that like button. The like button, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you all so very much. Please subscribe. I mentioned it again because we're trying to get these folks to 5,000 subs. Thank you. Yes, just a little over 50 subs away from 5K. Think we can do it before the end of the month? Let's get it done. You got a friend? Tell them about us, and then lie and say we're really, really good. And when you do, and they have to subscribe for break. Tell them whatever you got to tell them, man. Just get them to subscribe. Stormy Cyclone. He's getting ready for Farmageddon. Hello, everyone. Tonight's episode, The Brainwashing of College Athletic Fans, is brought to you by Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey.
Gotta get an NIL deal for everything.
Yeah. Airspace is here. He says, how about 128 teams?
Well, which 5 are going to get left out then? Or is it 7? I can't remember because we got Delaware in this year. So
nice. More football is always better. Yeah, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it. I just want to try and get through these hellos first. Devil Frog is here. Every conference champion should have an AQ. If we can't even agree on that, then let's end this nonsensical conversation and call it for what it is: a rigged system destroyed by greed.
See, I think if you do that, the SEC is going to split into 16 one-team conferences and change all the rules first with the governance before they split off so that they can do it to make one-team conferences available. But create a consortium to then vote those rules in.
Listen, I've got the Moen system out there. It's a 4-4-3-3-2 with 2 G5s joining into it. Problem is, every conference champion gets an AQ. Like, I'm sorry, there's some G6 conferences that do not need to be in the college football playoff. I just think 6, when we get to G7, 7 G conferences, they don't have the financial means to compete with Power 4 conferences. Going to get a lot of blowouts. And I want to see the on-campus games with really good teams.
Yeah, if you want to see your blowout conference championship game playoff thing against a MAC school, you can just wait for week 1 for you guys, or week 3.
Week 2. I think it is week 3. I think I got Grambling second. Mosito says, hello, CFM Mafia community. Hello, Mosito. Added a Rutgers sounder on here the other day, and it includes James Gandolfini. Just letting you know. I don't know if you caught Friday's show. Ryan Willie says, on Wisconsin. Absolutely, on Wisconsin. Sean says, Tony Petitti's got dementia. Go Black 45 says, what's up? Good to see you, Go Black. Daniel Gorby says, hello, Go Knowles. Excuse me, Go Knowles. Steve Moser, carry the one, herp the derp. Scavin, yes, is here. He says, hello, gentlemen. Good to see you, Scavin. Getting close to GBR. Getting close. Amazing Blue, if it goes to 24 or more for the college football playoff, does the SEC take the big scoop? GB Moen. Well, thank you, Amazing Blue. If you didn't catch my rant from Friday, you did a good job of carving it out. And I made something for my Michigan friends this weekend. I hope you appreciate it, because we all know Jim Harbaugh is a saint. Saint Harbaugh of Ann Arbor, patron saint of hypocrites. You can go ahead and print that out. Take that as a prayer card to church with you if you'd like. Just don't tell Fielding Yost. Yeah, don't tell Fielding Yost. But thank you for the super chat, Amazing Blue. I'll give you a little. Well, the only thing I got for Michigan is the whoa, so I won't do that to you. You gave us a super chat. I will go ahead and it'll reboot my soundboard, so I won't give you anything right now but a round of applause. And thank you for the super chat. Yeah, if it goes to 24 or more, does the SEC take the big scoop? Well, sure, of course they would, because then it would be a 24-team SEC playoff. They would have to take a bigger scoop, because Greg Sankey needs to get as many of them in as he can. Again, thank you. Amazing Blue, for that. I do appreciate it. If anybody would like to gift a membership, become a member, leave a super chat for the College Football Mafia Network. You can do so by clicking the little cash icon at the bottom of the chat window. It means so much to us, and we do appreciate them all, even ones from Michigan fans. Amazing Blue says, "Do you need to play some REM? Everybody Hurts, Moen." Hold on.
I think it should be dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, it should probably, if we're gonna do REM, Everybody Hurts, I want to see, like Connor Stallion singing it. But I don't have the super duper AI subscription, so I can't do live those videos. But now that my soundboard rebooted, let's give him one. Oh, you know what? We'll do $20.
I was helping those ladies find a new life, $20 at a time.
Thank you, Jim Brockmeyer. And thank you, Amazing Blue. And I do like the song Everybody Hurts by REM. Not a huge REM guy, but I do like that song. I think we've kind of got everybody. Illini Ted's here. Let's just jump into this. Thanks everybody for being here. Apologize if I missed you. First, before we talk about the 28, 25, 32 team playoff, I want to bring this up because this is interesting. And Rock sent me this before the show. I was going to discuss it anyway, but here we go. ESPN Football Power Index is rated 4th worst, 7th of 10 publications in preseason prediction accuracy over the past decade via Stassen.com. And the reason they bring that up is ESPN released their initial FPI rankings back in June, but updated it today, and this was a couple days ago. With the update, Miami dropped from number 9 to number 17, and Clemson dropped from number 11 to number 16. You're a Miami fan, Rock. Tell me, what happened between June and a couple days ago? Did some players get injured?
I don't know. Did Alabama play Mercer and win? Because that's the last time Miami got leapfrogged by so many people without actually losing a game on the field.
So there were no injury, no coaching changes, right?
No, if anything, Miami had the audacity of having Carson Beck's arm actually look good to every single person who's come and seen them, and he's not hurt. So that must have been it. That must have been it. I don't think the building imploded. We still didn't have a stadium. We didn't get one. That would have been a negative for somehow. You know what? F ESPN and these rankings. I usually don't jump on that thing, but those kind of things of like, how did something change in 8 weeks without any transfer portal, new recruits coming in? Even if recruits came in, like if they just, no, the only thing I could think of, and I didn't read the full article because I just was laughing about how pathetic it was, is do they now, from like the first one till now, add in however many freshmen didn't report in the winter, and now that's what changed everything? And Miami only had a couple of people that came in. Maybe some other schools had more of their top-notch recruiting classes come in, but the most big programs have their recruiting classes already in. And I don't even know whether that's a factor, whether they look to, hey, we did these ratings before the summer began, summer camps, and the last freshman joined. So I don't know. It just devalues the metric. And it's funny because I think I defended it a little bit before because at least it was just a metric, right? It was, and they told you what it was, whether you liked it or not. But that one tweak, I don't even know how to try to laugh, defend it or just laugh about it. Another ridiculous thing that we all have to endure in college football without any good explanation behind it.
Absolutely. And going forward, according to the FBI, Miami's percent chance to reach the CFP dropped from 46.3 to 35.9%. 10% drop over 2 months. Damned you. Clemson's chance to reach the CFP dropped 47 to 38. 9% drop for the Clemson Tigers.
Unreal.
The Canes and the Tigers dropped behind. And listen to this list. See if you notice there's a pattern here. Tennessee moved up 2 spots. This is the same Tennessee that lost their quarterback to the transfer portal and got absolutely shellacked in the college football playoff.
Hey man, maybe the index goes higher for former Appalachian State quarterbacks.
I guess. Ole Miss moved up 3 spots. This is the same Ole Miss that missed the playoffs last year because they couldn't beat Kentucky.
Well, that's clearly because they get bonus points for all the trolling that Lane Kiffin does on Twitter.
South Carolina moved up 4 spots despite losing to Illinois in a bowl game that they were heavily favored in.
I actually thought South Carolina was underrated to begin with, and I have them in my top 12 for the end of the season, so I have less things to worry about there. But I still don't understand in this current metric how they jumped.
Now LSU, to be fair, they were jumped. LSU was jumped. By the way, Florida
kind of like Brian Kelly on the dance floor.
That's right. Florida moved up 5 spots, by the way, followed by USC, who moved up 5 spots. You're really gonna, and then you got Michigan that moved up 2 spots. The Michigan one, I'll give you. The USC up 5 spots, I think that's generous, but it's very interesting to me that the ESPN FPI, we did a show a couple weeks ago about ESPN bias. Here you go. It's already starting. They can't even have a ball snapped before they start, guys. Tennessee moves up, Ole Miss moves up, South Carolina moves up, Florida moves up. 4 SEC schools move up. 1 gets jumped. 2 Big Ten schools move up. 2 ACC schools fall back.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we talked about this the last time, I was less worried about it. I think that this is yet one more. It's ridiculous, right, what we just saw, because nothing has fundamentally changed. So either the model and how it was handled was fundamentally flawed a little while ago, or something is interesting that we need to understand, and it's now more flawed or less flawed. But either way, one version is. But I think, again, all eyes are on this narrative now, right, across the board. And ESPN still controls a lot of the voice, and they have a lot of the dominoes that they get to play with. But it was so mocked about how ridiculous it was. It played into what I think is a counter narrative out there about ESPN and the SEC as a partner having gone too far in protesting too much. So I think it just keeps people's eyes more wide open. And look, on the College Football Playoff Committee, yes, it's an ESPN event, but it's not like half of the voters on that are, SEC appointees. There's like 3 or 4 on that panel.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting to me because, again, that Football Power Index is going to come into play in rankings. It always does. People can say, no, it's independent. You cannot watch every football game, people. A lot of journalists turn to, unfortunately, ESPN, and they're going to see Football Power Index. They're going to see all the SEC teams at the top. And if they lose a game, they're not going to fall very far. And that's going to be one of the justifications to get them into the college football playoff. Without fail. Without fail. Let's see here. I saw a comment I wanted to grab here. Larry the GM says, well, if it'll pull it up, please be careful before assuming conspiratorial bias motives. You're putting the channel at risk for libel. You do not know why teams are being moved up in this rating. Well, here's the thing.
We are not putting the channel at risk for libel. That is not remotely true.
Yes.
It's opinion. We're allowed to talk about it.
I'd be like Pat McAfee, and I just apologize and get paid $50 million. So, if ESPN sues us, I'll just apologize, say I didn't have all my facts in, and it'll be fine.
Please, ESPN, please sue me. Please. The amount of money I will make because you sued us and the amount of followers we will get and the amount of revenue this channel, my friends here, will get will be epic, and the loss you will take, because there's literally no such thing as libel in this specific case, would be amazing. And I will literally bet everything I own that there's no libel in what we've said so far.
Absolutely,
You can't
not.
libel a friggin' data set.
The motives behind it. The motives behind it. ESPN is evil. There you go. I think it's evil because I think evil is subjective. And in my opinion, ESPN's evil. And if they want to sue me, I will settle for Star Wars and I will fix it. Ryan Willie, the evil badger, says, I guess my 7777111 that I suggested months ago wasn't a bad plan. It's certainly starting to look that way, but I could not 7 teams for whew. But thank you for that, Ryan. Let me give you a little sounder of the badger. Yeah, you don't mess with badgers. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan. All right,
I actually think I want to take Larry's idea, though. I want to try to get sued by them now. I want to figure out a way to get sued by ESPN. It would be the best promotion we could do. We got to figure out how to actually skirt that line and open ourselves up. That would be awesome. You can come on the other channel and just be like immune to it. I'm happy.
ESPN was evil. Then you said it. Well, evil is subjective. Evil in and of itself is a subjective, Larry. I'm sorry. It's not. I can say ESPN is evil, and it's subjective. You know, I think Michigan is evil. Brock probably doesn't think that.
Yeah, I mean, I literally work for the ESPN Disney company. I know what would or wouldn't get sued by the company there before pretty well, so I'm not too concerned about our future. Though I still want them to please sue Moen and me.
Yes.
I want to go on a speaking tour about how we fought the ESPN guys. I want to get interviewed on Fox Sports Radio about how ESPN tried to sue us. Please, any ESPN lawyers, rock and rant on twitter.com.
I want to see the lawsuit. Moen versus Moen and Rock and Rant. Moen After Dark.
I believe that ESPN, actually, I know ESPN has fixed these rankings. They went out to screw Miami to make sure that they go to the Big 12. Come after me, ESPN. I'm right here. I'm on Twitter, Rock and Rant. CFB Express, please sue me, ESPN.
Oh, jeez. Jimmy Otson has gifted 1 membership to the College Football Mafia family. I'm assuming with a name like Jimmy Otson, he's a Duck fan, so we'll give him a little quack attack. Thank you, Jimmy Otson. That gifted membership went to Carson. Please enjoy that gifted membership, Carson. And if you're here in the chat, make sure you leave a thank you for our friend Jimmy Otson. You can also leave that in the comment section if you're watching on demand. Amazing Blue. Keep my Wolverines out of your mouth. Will Smith voice.
Michigan is evil. Ward Manuel, please come sue me.
You know what? Just for that, Amazing Blue, I'm going to do it. I got to do it.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
I love that clip because there's an old guy who's like a Michigan State fan at the end of that, and he's just trying to zip his jacket up, and it's wonderful. Thank you for the super chat, Amazing Blue. We're going to get you this year. I want to get back to that comment I had from Jansen Roberts. The SEC hasn't released anything other than the 5-11. There are reports that the SEC has looked at numerous playoff formats, including 32. Let's keep it factual. That is directly from The Athletic. It is the exact same way that the Big Ten has not released a 24-team or 28-team. They have just been incubating it.
And nobody has released any realignment moves past what they've already done. So let's just talk about that. There are 7 days or 6 days and 18 hours before games, and really we should just talk about the time left on the clock, because everything else we don't really know about yet.
Yes, and one time the SEC actually supported the Big Ten's playoff format. So things change for sure, but let's talk about it. 24 team, 28 team, 32 team. At what point does it get to be too much?
It's a unique question for college football and the football subdivision, because this question would not be startling to any of the U.S. professional leagues, or to almost all of the other major sports in Division I and Division II. The FCS has 24 teams, right? It is a unique question for college football, because for so long there was no system. It was just random bowl games and voting afterwards, especially if there was 2 undefeated teams. Then we got down to 2, and we had sometimes where people all agreed that the 2 that the computers picked was great. Other times where a school could beat another school, and that other school would go into the title game ahead of them. Then we got to 4, and for a long time there was a debate about 1. I personally think anything that got past 24 is really a little bit too much. It's too much past there. I'm not necessarily advocating for 24 either, to be clear. I'm fine if it stays at 12. I just want it to be fair. I'm fine if it goes to 16. I think it's okay if it goes to 24, but I would be totally fine if it never went past 12.
I tend to agree. 16 is my max. That's at that point, I mean, come on. And especially with these mega models, we're talking about getting rid of conference championship games. And I think conference championship games should still matter in the grand scheme of things in college football. Oregon, their initial season came in and were Big Ten champions. Why take that away from Oregon?
Here's the question, Mo, and why is that even coming up? Because I thought that especially your Big Ten guru there, Mr. Petitti, wanted to preserve the conference championship game as a byproduct of wanting to make the regular season as strong as possible. So how is it all of a sudden the new theoretical rumored model that we don't know if it's true because it hasn't officially leaked and we're only trusting one source, The Athletic, on it, has a world where the conference championships go away? So was last week all crap from 2 weeks ago at Media Days all crap? How did this theoretically turn for the Big Ten, if it did?
I think it pretty obviously theoretically turned for the Big Ten when it came down to play-in games. They've probably looked at this and said 24 to 32 teams, or 24 to 28 teams. You can get X number of play-in games, and those play-in games will outweigh the value of a single conference championship game. But here's my problem with it. How many games are we going to have these kids play? I mean, at some point, do we just say, stop going to class? You are pro athletes. Because look, you're going to have 3 out of conference games, 9 conference games. Now you got to worry about a play-in game, or a conference championship game. And then you got to worry about the actual playoffs themselves. And then you've got to get through all, Ohio State ended up playing 4 games in the playoff in a 12-team format. I can only imagine 6 to 8 games possibly being played for a 32-team format. I mean, how many? I think that's more than NFL teams actually play.
Well, the NFL plays 17 regular season, right? So
right,
and theoretically you could have 3 more.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's 17 games for a college football season. At some point, I think it devalues the regular season, because it really doesn't matter if you win or lose a game at that point. It doesn't. It's lessened now. Yes, Ohio State won the national championship. They lost 2 games last year. It's lessened. Notre Dame went to the championship game. They had that loss to Northern Illinois. Losses no longer put you out of contention. But, I mean, if you're getting into 32 teams, we're going to start having it where losses don't even matter at all. starters are going to get sat. They'll just say, hey, look, we can't afford to lose any starters before that play-in game. Last game of the season, all the starters sit out. And you've got backups in. To me, there's just way too many questions to go that far, that fast.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you can make an argument that if you're just going to do this, that it wouldn't be the worst case in the world to just get to where you're going to go anyway. If we know you're going to go to the money grab, let's just get this crap all done, right? Let's get the playoff in its final stage. It's going to stay around forever. Get you your new bid. Let's get conference realignment done, and let's just talk about arguing over FPIs and whether or not Ohio State's going to beat Texas in week 1 or the reverse.
Yeah. Ooh, we're getting close to that week 1 slate, and it is fantastic. But yeah, I just look and mentioned it in the chat. They're going to cut the season by 2 or 3 games, which are probably going to be out of conference games. The beginning of the season out of conference games might be going away under a 28 or a 32 team format. You're not going to get Ohio State, Texas. You're not going to get Florida State, Alabama. You're not going to get LSU, Clemson. We could potentially lose those games. Yeah, we're also going to lose Grambling State. We're also going to lose Ohio University. We're also going to lose some of these smaller FBS schools. And that, those smaller FBS schools, there's some schools that depend on those games to set their entire athletic budget for the season. So, I mean, there's repercussions here that we don't even know about. And honestly, I have to believe that this – one, I think the Big Ten and the SEC are both putting this out there. You mentioned the athletic. Yeah. It's not like they got a scoop or they've got an inside source. The Big Ten and the SEC are putting this out there, in my opinion. They are putting it out there, trying to socialize it, put it out there to try and get people to come to the table and come up with a 16-team format that everybody can agree with.
Yeah, look, I think they're just talking to each other through the media, right? And seeing what the reactions are, seeing how the hangers on the other sides of the equation and what their reaction to. Greg has been arguing on peek around the corner about 18. Like, I think his idea kind of has some merit there as well, where it just addresses the opportunity for the Big 12 and the ACC to have a playing kind of weekend, not a place where they can only choose like one game to do that with and protect their champion. But beyond 24, I think is way too much. 24, I can see the arguments one way or the other. I don't know that I'm worried as much about devaluing the regular season. I think it ultimately depends upon how it's executed, because in theory, for some games that might get devalued, other games become more valued, and you would just have to see how that really plays out. But you're valuing games further down the standings, really, right? And while possibly diminishing games at the end. But I guess the question is Michigan and Ohio State ever really going to be devalued in that last week, no matter what the situation is? It's like sometimes it's just even more valued, but it's always baseline value is crazy high.
Right. And that's a rivalry game. That's a rivalry game. But I'm saying a 28-team, 32-team playoff, it's entirely possible a team can have 5 losses, get into the playoffs, and you can have a 5-loss national champion.
As long as it's the SEC, it's totally fine.
Well, you're right. But you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. I think 12, okay. I saw it this year. I liked it. I'll be honest. I preferred 8. I thought 8 was a good number. This year we got to 12. I saw the 12-team format. I like the 12-team format. I do. If we're going to a 16-team format, I don't mind it. I just don't want any at-large bids in it. I want it to be all AQs. You get automatic qualifiers for the Big, SEC, ACC, Big 12, and 2 G6 champions. And then we don't have any argument. And if you want to do it, if the conferences want to do it via play-in games, I'm fine with that.
I'm not with you on the not having any AQ, because with so many teams and so much variability between the conferences and even the schedules year to year, of which a large portion in these uneven conferences where you don't play everybody is subject to the whim of a conference. You do risk having a team or two who probably should get in, just situationally not get in because the 19th tiebreaker in their conference, when they had the hardest schedule in their conference, goes against them. Had nothing to do with on-field play. So I think having at least one or two spots as flex, so to speak, in that world does give you some out, because what will happen eventually, and probably sooner than later, is there will be one of those things where we'll go, that wasn't fair. And then everybody questions the whole thing again. Not that they won't question it either way, regardless, right? But I think some flexibility. I'd like to see more than one G5 team get in for sure if we're going to go bigger. Right now, if you look at the odds on teams to make it into the G5 spot, I believe 3 conferences have a team in the top 5 options possibly to make it on some of the things I've seen. So,
yeah, but I mean, you would have essentially the Big Ten and SEC would have 6 teams at the end of the regular season that could potentially make the college football playoff. You'd have your championship game between your champion, your runner-up, and then you'd have a couple playing games. That's 3-6, 4-5. I've seen those mentioned. So there'd be the only problem I would have, and I know you hate this, and I insist on it, is if Notre Dame is eligible, Notre Dame has to take an ACC slot. They have to. So they would also have to be eligible for ACC play-in game, ACC championship game. And if the ACC took issue with that, I think they should just force Notre Dame to basically join the conference at that point.
yeah, look, I mean, that's just a whole other thing, the hell of having Notre Dame be like your side hustle partner. How that all works out in the end. I don't think they don't contribute to the football revenue. They shouldn't partake on any of that in terms of like contributing to the playoff pool, and they're getting their own share no matter what. So I think it's kind of not okay to me that they would take a spot, but I'm sure that the cuck known as the ACC commissioner will probably allow anything to happen when it comes to Notre Dame, including having the whole team come to his house while he goes away for the night.
Yeah. But again, I think it's just more about Notre Dame needs to join a conference. I don't care what conference they join. But I mean, you can't, I think the special privilege of being independent has to end with the next playoff format. Let's get some comments here. The real MVP 2014 playoff is a horrible idea. I agree with you. Like I said, I really do like the 12. I thought it worked out really well this year. Obviously, as an Ohio State fan, I thought it worked out well. But I mean, just an objective college football fan, I thought it worked out really well. Were there some blowouts? Yeah. But there were some good competitive games too. So I don't, and listen, number 8 beat number 1. You got some upsets in there, some major upsets in there. Notre Dame, I forget what Notre Dame was ranked, but they beat number 2 Georgia. So Scavin yes says end of the week moan will be GBR week. All right. He's not superstitious, he's just a little stitious. Mosito 2014 college football playoff, a P3 with 10 SEC teams, 10 Big 10 teams, 4 Big 12 teams, no G7. Again, I think you just I think it just devalues, but that's Hardbag was 49-26 before Connor Stallions and 40-3 after. No comment. I don't want John Harbaugh to sue me. John Engel, what's up, guys? Good to see you, John. I like them sunglasses. Look like Macho Man sunglasses. Holy shit, is it actually displaying? I think StreamYard may have updated where now it displays emotes. Mason Blue says, I'm just here so I don't get fined, my man.
Just we're just here trying to get sued. So I guess we're kind of along the same lines. It's all about the money.
That's right. Bring it, Kathleen Kennedy.
We could call it TAP. Allegedly, we'll call it TAP. Theoretically, allegedly, potentially. So we'll just say TAP whatever we're doing for our lawsuit right after to give us some space.
Yeah. Listen, O.J. Simpson murdered 2 people. And I'm not going to say allegedly because he did. 37 teams from the SEC, 29 from the Big Ten, -3 ACC teams, -5 teams from the Big 12, 58 team mega derp. Steve, this is why we need Duke and Stanford in these power conferences to figure out the quantum physics of all these parallel universe playoff formats that they're coming up with. It almost reminds me of the scene. Have you ever seen the movie Basketball, where they're explaining the playoff picture, and it's like, unless it ends in a 3-way tie, and then in which case it goes to a round robin tournament. And if that's not conclusive, then the following Sunday there's a 3-man sack race to determine who gets the, it's nuts.
And that's too funny.
Amazing Blue said SEC jumped up to make sure that when most of their teams go 7-5 or 8-4, they can say it's due to how tough their conference is and no one plays a harder schedule. Amazing Blue, you were exactly right, except when it comes to bowl games. When the SEC loses a bowl game to a Big Ten team, bowl games do not matter. BS, libel, and slander both require intent. Yeah, we don't have any intent to do anything. Jimmy also says, caution, objects in the SEC mirror are closer to number 1 than they appear. I like that one, Jimmy. That was good.
That was excellent. That was one of the better ones of the last few weeks.
Steve Moser, ESPN is kind of admitting the ranking system with the fucking pretty idiotic acronym.
Steve Moser, I would just be really cautious. If you see a mouse knock on your door, don't let them serve you.
Yeah. If you guys get sued, don't worry. Greg and PATC will have the courtroom cam going. Absolutely. And Greg will give us some great commentary, I'm sure.
I will have all of Nate's consigliaries representing us, and some of them have argued cases before the Supreme Court, so we're good.
Yeah, that's true. We do. Nate knows a lot of lawyers.
Yeah.
We may need to increase the amount of super chats, though. For legal.
We seriously need. We're gonna have like a god level tier of memberships, of which you get to actually like sue us for libel if we win our libel case.
We'll have co-defendant level memberships.
Correct. You can join us you can get the best seat in the house next to us on the defendant's stand.
And by the way, if you're going to sue CFB Mafia, make sure you sue CFB Express as well.
Yes, and don't forget the on the YouTube channel, because it could be an imposter channel.
That's true. I could be entirely made of AI, guys. You don't know that I really exist.
I think your avatar might get sued.
Fergie in the house trying to catch up on 2X. Go Buffs. Georgia Tech is going down in Boulder, and I will watch it all in person. Drink. I don't have any whiskey here, Fergie. I am sorry.
Georgia Tech is coming after you next, Fergie.
I'll have a little Coke Zero in your honor. Jimmy Hodson says whatever plan they take, they should not make any team wait an entire month before playing their first game, and top seed should get the first playoff game at home, even if they get a bye. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think, and I mentioned it a couple weeks ago in another video I did with Nate, I think the college football season should be moved up. Navy Army should take place first game of the year. Get that knocked out of the way, and I think the national championship, I think, should coincide in the first week in January, as close to January 1st as possible.
Yeah, and can we just play the damn game on a Saturday night so everyone can get ripped and not have to worry about
Yeah.
work the next day, except for those who unfortunately have to work on a Sunday. The Thursday, Monday games for college football should be as rare as possible in terms of like the playoff and the end of the year. Like, let's try to keep some degree of tradition back again.
I don't know. I might have to disagree with you on this because after last year's national championship game, I had to drive to Columbus at 5 a.m. in the morning, and it was great. There was no traffic. Everybody was calling.
Well, I mean, certainly if you just do that, if that's your thing.
Sean says the AQ model is only going to get to support the Blue Bloods. Nobody else, just like Fox, is probably paying Michigan's fine and had a lot to do with his penalties. Listen, money talks, bullshit walks. Let's see what happens to Central Michigan. I think when it's all said and done, Michigan is paying a huge fine. I think Central Michigan is going to get really, really, really rammed up the ass on that one. They're going to have postseason bans. They're going to lose scholarships. It's going to be really bad for Central Michigan. Go Black 45 says the NFL plays 20 now and nobody complains about it. It's because they're professionals. That's all they do. I'm not complaining about it because they're pros, but I mean, we're still going on the idea that these kids have to go to class. I mean, even if they're terrible online classes, they're still classes. John Dry says a big and an SEC school just has to win one conference game and they make the playoffs. Yeah, but basically winning an SEC conference game, that merits getting into the playoffs because of how tough the SEC conference is. The players' bodies aren't as developed as an NFL player and then need the less games to get their bodies developed. There's some kids in college football that would just immediately go to the NFL. Like Jeremiah Smith, I think, could immediately go to the NFL right away. But you're absolutely right, especially linemen. Takes a lot of footwork and everything else to get ready for the NFL. The amount of kids who can just basically leave high school and go to the NFL is a percentage point of a percentage point of a percentage point of a percentage point. Ryan Williams is another one I think could probably pull it off. Caleb Downs. Good luck with that. The shit show is just beginning. I don't have the shit show supervisor hat on right now, though. But I will make sure that when that happens, when the 32, the 36 team, 48 team invitational round robin 3-man sack race starts, I will have the shit show supervisor hat on. Uh, 16 teams when the SEC goes to 9. So Tony Lawson is holding the line. SEC goes to 9 conference games. They get 16 teams. If the SEC expands, they're going to have to go to 9 conference games anyway. You can't go to 18 and not do 9 conference games. I just don't think it would work. Jose says at Boise State they have starters who are 24 years old.
Check out BYU's roster.
That's what I was gonna wait for Rock to do the BYU Utah joke. Yeah, when you got Cam Rising, who's 36 years old and a starting quarterback for Utah.
I mean, Miami had a 28-year-old tight end, but that was because he had 6 freaking redshirt injuries and he wasn't a starter.
A 5-loss playoff team is Eli Drinkwitz's wet dream. Lots of SEC
That's
teams
really
5 loss.
I think Eli is coming after Replica. Be careful, bro. How would you know what's in his dream?
Yeah. Getting sued. You'll see. Why would any non-SEC fans want at-large bids?
Because I don't think that the SEC is always going to get everything. I think people are just building in. Everyone who's mad about the narrative continues to build in the narrative. And when we get to 24 teams, if that's what they do, I think there's more flexibility on there. I don't even think 5 SEC teams are making the playoff this year personally, and I could be wrong, but I'm putting it out there. I don't even have 4 going in. I'm on a limb. I know I'm by myself. You guys can cut the tree off after, but I'm saying it. I don't think they're getting 4 teams in.
Okay. I do think the SEC is probably going to get 4 in. I do think the Big Ten is probably going to get 4 in.
No, I just want everyone's head to be messed with when 3-3-2-2 come in, and then I have to take the biggest victory lap. If not, everybody would have assumed I was wrong anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We've still got to do our college football playoff picks on the channel. 16 is the perfect and max number. No matter how many conferences or divisions there would be, 16 is marketable and easy to schedule without buys, which is way too advantageous in football. And again, I think you can move the regular season up to the beginning of August and get everything in and end with a national championship game around January 1st.
That would be good.
Conundrum says the Raiders won the Super Bowl as a wild card team too, as did the Pittsburgh Steelers when Kimo von Oelhoffen cheap-shotted Carson Palmer's knee.
The question is, which will be the first SEC team to make the playoffs with an under 500 record? Wasn't there like at least a couple of NFL teams that have made the playoff, like a 7-9, 8-9?
Yeah,
something?
I think Seattle one year came out of the NFC West with a losing record. I think, but I would have to look into it. I'm not sure, but I do think that has happened once. If you put 4 and 5 loss teams in the CFP, you're going to get big blowouts. This isn't the NFL.
We got big blowouts last year at 12.
MBM, you had a 13-0 number 1 seed get blown out in the Rose Bowl last year. You're going to get blowouts regardless. Mullen, are you telling me Ryan Day is in favor of a play-in game where last year he would have played Iowa 1 week after the Michigan loss when he's already in? Why would he risk injury? Well, if he was playing against Iowa, I don't think you would have to worry about risking too much injury, especially because Iowa would have to come to Columbus in that game. And I just look. That Michigan loss, I said it at the time, I was pissed, but that was probably the best thing that happened to Ohio State. Because then they just went balls to the wall and they had nothing to lose. Likewise, Michigan, I think that win was the best thing to happen to Michigan because they played Alabama, who the SEC lauded as this great team that deserved to be in the playoffs. And Michigan didn't even have most of their starters and beat them. A 9-3 team going on a run and winning a natty is what makes sports fun, or at least that's what a lot of so-called purists and live if the game fans scream at me. Scream at me in the comments. Sure. I don't mind a 9-3 team winning it all. I really don't. I think I would mind a 7-5 team winning it all, though. I think I would have an issue with it.
Hey, the good news is they'll be like 11-5 by the time they won it all.
Jimmy Otson did Mafia Utes O-Face. Apparently, they still do not allow custom emotes on StreamYard. Damn you, StreamYard. Having play-in games that have zero consequences attached to it is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Big teams now get double elimination in the playoffs. SEC would as well. Mullen, your love for Michigan proves you're not AI. Maybe I'm just advanced AI. You ever think of that?
He's Skynet ready.
Wasn't one of Eli Manning's Super Bowls the Giants were a wild card? Yeah, I think it was a Super Bowl. They beat the undefeated Patriots. Eli Manning was my favorite guy for like a week there. Edward the Auburn Tiger, the SEC hate show, the SEC derangement syndrome. The stuff is getting contagious.
I don't hate SEC. I actually defended. I said like 2 weeks ago, if the SEC is so overrated, why did the coaches poll put more people in from the SEC, even though it goes against their own narrative? What I hate is the bullshit narrative around the SEC from the media that leads to potentially self-fulfilling prophecies. And I don't think at one time I've ever personally said that I don't think the SEC is the best football conference. And in terms of dunking, have you heard me talk about the ACC and Jim Phillips or Tony Petitti? Pretty sure that I'm an equal opportunity hater on pretty much all of the conferences, with the exception of maybe the Big 12, because I think they have a commissioner and I think they get enough crap and not enough recognition. But that's just me personally. Moan, on the other hand, is probably an SEC hater.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I hate the SEC. I really hate them. But look, I get tired of, they went on that run there where they won 17 out of 19 national championships in a row. People are going to hate you when you do shit like that. Just like people hated the Patriots in the NFL.
I mean, I have a love-hate relationship. I thought Lane Kiffin was a crybaby and super weird in January on social media. And I thought it was hysterical with Hugh Freeze recently.
So I have the playing game if you're going to beat their ass so bad. I think it still gives you an opportunity, and it makes more money for your conference. I think Iowa would enjoy that extra opportunity. I think the other 18 teams in the conference would enjoy the extra money. Right on. Anything to beat the Patriots. I remember them having all road games until the Super Bowl. Giants defense was really good that year. They really turned it on in the playoffs. It's not the SEC, it's Alabama. I just think it's because Alabama is the face of the SEC. Tech also beat Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure that Rock appreciates that, don't you, Rock?
I'm always happy when somebody goes, and beats up Wieska, wherever the hell he went.
People with teams in the North always assume the season can start in mid-August. The season used to start. It was just 2 weeks before September the season started. A long, long time ago in the 80s and 90s. It's not like it's 72 degrees and fair in Ohio in the middle of August, guys. It's still in the 90s. It's still 97% humidity.
Well, they're also a lot of northern schools don't go back to school till later, right? Ironically, a lot of the southern schools are already in there. Public schools are open in a lot of southern states, like in a week or so. They're practicing. They're all in summer camps right now in the South, and it's already hot as hell unless you're in your indoor practice facility. So, I mean, granted, they don't have 2-a-days like they used to, but I think it's doable. Just like, by the same token, northern teams are thrilled for it to go later so they can get the cold weather games against theoretically southern schools now in the playoffs, right? Like, it all don't matter. I don't know if there's anything such as north right now anymore with the way the weather is going, or at least not as north as it used to be.
Yeah, and again, you're getting an advantage for northern teams early in the season. The southern teams would have the biggest advantage at the end of the season.
Definitely.
Expedition Greg says OH. I'll go ahead and say IO since nobody in the chat can actually use it.
IO is what Michigan should be saying right now.
They owe about $20 million. Florida State started a 29-year-old at quarterback, Chris Wenke, and I think he won the Heisman too, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't remember how old he was, but Wenke was really good for them. He was older. I just can't remember if he was 27, 28, 29, but he was good for sure.
Moen stopped. The NIL cash pays for the tutors to take the online classes. Only at North Carolina. Actually, Moen, losing an SEC game qualifies you for the CFP. You're right. Absolutely right. How could I forget? This is all to get ratings into the double digits. The networks know they will never get the 30 to 40 million like the NFL. Well, certainly not when they're scheduling it up against NFL games. If they were smart about it, they could. High school started playing on Friday. Absolutely. Friday night lights are in effect in Ohio as well.
See, Laura is a very wise, astute person with football knowledge.
The playoffs is about a national championship, not for Iowa to get throttled in a meaningless game for a payday.
So we should cut the basketball tournament down to 16.
Yeah. I mean, in the championship, in the playoffs, how many throttling losses were there? I mean, look, at least it's an opportunity. I mean, if you're a convict on death row and you got a 1 in 3 chance or a 1 in 4 chance, 1 in 5 chance, you're taking the chance. James Davis says in Florida, public schools are already back about 2 or 3 weeks now.
Miami Northwestern played football in Florida the other night and won a game. So, like, Florida schools are playing in high school right now under whatever heat and conditions they have.
Yeah, I just don't see that much of a difference. And again, I've been to Florida in August. I've been to Ohio in August. I can't tell you the difference. It's hot. It's sticky. Your nuts stick to the side of your leg. I don't know what to tell you. Surprised that the SEC hasn't gone to 9 conference games in a scheduling agreement. Big would have an extra game against the best conference. SEC would get a bunch of gimme games, or so we've been told. Certainly, it's probably true. There's going to be some gimme games there. But now that we know that bowls don't matter, it's been 5-1 bowl record last year, Big Ten versus SEC, including wins over 2 teams that deserve to be in the playoffs in South Carolina and Alabama. Iowa State versus Kansas State is this Saturday. You're absolutely right, Greg. Farmageddon. I don't have a Kansas State sounder. Well, this is probably unfair to the Kansas State fans, but I'll play the Iowa State song. That's good because Texas is going to throttle you just like they were going to throttle us last season. I'm not worried about it. I've got a 3-way parlay on the game already. Caden the Diesel Freak says, hey guys, good to see you, Caden. 98 with 65 humidity. Yeah, it gets hot here in Ohio too. Mo and bows only matter when the SEC beats the Big Ten. I think bows always matter. Amazing Blue.
That's really shitty of you, man.
I know. I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be crapping on them. When they lose, it's because they didn't want to be there. Yes, and every time, it's to a T. Every time I have brought up that Alabama-Michigan game, people have tried to tell me Alabama had all their starters pulled, and the exact opposite is true. Michigan,
dude, they just wiped you, man.
Alabama, yeah, wiped. Oh boy. Friends call me Sean. Chris Wenke, starting quarterback at a major university, who also happened to be a multimillionaire from his minor league career. Oh, what a life! Also of note, only school to go number 1 wire to wire. He won the Heisman Trophy, didn't he, Sean? I seem to recall him winning the Heisman Trophy. He went to Carolina. He didn't do very good in Carolina, but nobody does good in Carolina. And Iowa would have been the next team in the playoffs for the Big, and you guys want 7 now. LMFAO. Who was 7th 12-way tie for last?
Hey, Moen, I just have an observation. I'm feeling like everybody wants us to like go to jail. The super chat bail fund is not really rocking right now.
Yeah, really, man. You guys don't understand. We got ESPN on us. Lake Sherman.
Just to be clear, Ryan, you can donate directly to Moen. You don't have to do anything for me. It's okay. I understand the Miami, Wisconsin thing.
No, he lives in California. I'm sure lawyers' fees are way out of bounds out there in California. Way out of bounds. Chris Sankey did win a Heisman Trophy. The only team that had no starters was Florida State against UGA. Ooh.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Just going to let that linger.
Whew. That's cold-blooded, man. Nobody caught that one. Let me get the Law and Order sound effect up here because that was a murder.
Now that guy is getting arrested.
Yeah. Steve Moser, this has been a fun show this evening, gentlemen. May your teams enjoy opening weekend victories over the Cheese Dick teams from Texas and Notre Dame. Bowels matter at my house, mainly in the 7 a.m. hour. Right after the coffee, brother. Right after the coffee. I hear you.
That's where Greg Sankey has been thinking up the playoff system, guys. Come on.
That's where ESPN's been formulating the FPI system.
And if it's not good enough, they're going to flush it and come up with another one.
Absolutely. Let's get him. We'll give you a Jayhawk squawk. And I think the tortoise kind of sounds like it's dropping one here. Yep, that's pretty much what I sound like at 7 a.m. on the toilet. So there you go. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank everybody who joined us. I got an early day tomorrow, so I got to get out of here early. I want to particularly thank Ryan Willie, who gifted 5 memberships. Amazing Blue, Ryan Willie again. Jimmy Otson, who gifted a membership. Steve Moser with the 10-piece. And then Fergie saying, guys, what is the end game of the giant playoff proposal? Is the SEC and Big just trying to maintain the narrative one way or the other? Let me go ahead and play you a fight song first, Fergie, and then we'll take that as our last call. All right. Let's make that our last call, Rock. What do you think the end game of these giant mega playoff proposals is?
It's to get as many slots at as high a valuation and for as much money as you can get to keep the gap between the haves and the have-nots growing, and to also offset the costs of the growing revenue sharing with the players, and to hopefully not destroy your entire athletic department, other sports as well, and keep them at least above the minimum thresholds, right? It's grabbing every dollar that's available. And that's really what it comes down to. And within those dollars, making sure that your conference, if at all possible, is overrepresented and to stack it as far in your favor as you possibly can, which is what anybody who's running a business would try to do. And some just have more power to do it in this case. But the good news, Moen, is that next week, after we get your take, we will at least be talking about an actual game this week, next week.
That's absolutely right. We will have actual games, plural. I think Stanford plays Hawaii next week, too. That power.
Stanford does play Hawaii. I mean, I'm super focused, as many are, on Farmageddon in Ireland, and knowing what a surprising game that was last year. But I don't think, since those two schools are both highly considered in the Big 12 right now as possible winners of the conference, I don't think there's likely to be a surprise. It just could be like if somebody surprisingly got blown out, as opposed to what we saw with a pretty big upset last year with Georgia Tech and Florida State.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. I think the goal of this expanded playoff that's been floated out there is to get all the YouTube channels that talk college football to say mean things about ESPN and form a giant class action lawsuit from Disney to sue us all so that they can make money because they can't release good movies anymore. Their studio system is failing. They're trying to maximize the profits they can for ESPN so they can float the entire criminal organization that is Disney.
Well, they're coming after the mafia for all the obvious reasons, you know.
Obviously.
It's an anti-crime syndicate.
That's true. We need to get the anti-YouTube college football show defamation league started on this right away. So
absolutely,
I'm going to go
suing your fans and your biggest consumers is a definite thing to try.
Absolutely. I want to thank myself. I want to thank Rock and Rant. I will catch you guys on Friday for the Big Freaking Friday show. Rock, what do you guys got going on at CFB Express this week?
Well, I got a lot this week. I'm talking to Numbskull tomorrow. I'm with the Mafia on Tuesday to do an ACC show, and then we're doing an ACC preview show on Wednesday where we have someone from Clemson coming on board. We have the person behind the whole Calgorithm and the video for OTT to go from Cal joining us. Tell us what the hell's going on there. And Rec Talk will be joining us for those of you familiar.
All right. Thank you again, everybody who came in here and joined us and listened to us rant and rave and libel and slander. And
this was one of those kind of shows.
Yeah. We will catch you guys next Sunday. Until then, have a good week, everybody. Peace out.